Hello, everybody, and welcome. You may be recognizing this setup, may look familiar, and from the countdown timer, you may have guessed where are we? We're reporting right now directly from StwrWest 2022. I said it right this
You did
time.
say.
And I have with me today my amigo Vince Huang, who did I pronounce it right?
Of course.
Okay. Sounded a little bit like Mexican Juan. No, you're not Juan.
Juan.
um, he's joining me today. He's going to be assisting me and helping to transmit today to bring you all the magic, somewhat pun intended, because we're reporting from a magical place, but not to just to be myself talking. Vince, where are we reporting from?
From the beautiful Disneyland
Oh,
in
yeah.
Anaheim, California.
Hola, California. And, well, Disneyland, the Disneyland Hotel. Probably you cannot see it, but the carpet has Mickey Mouse themed
Yep.
little things. I don't know. I really hope that you cannot hear this music, but we are listening Disney castle music, a little bit like a waltz. Is it?
I think so.
It's
Doesn't make me want to dance it. But I mean, it's,
I never want to kind of dance on waltzes or things like that. But as you can see, if you're watching, we are going to be doing the usual shenanigans that I do in this event. I'm going to be hunting for people walking behind us, willing to share some of their experiences. What do they do? What do they are coming for? If they are giving a training, learning, or what's their experience, and sharing it with you. And as well, beware, be ready, prepare. And this is beware. I have been told that beware is like a tough word to use, but I think that fits today because we are going to be having some more streams for this event. We are going to be, if you are not subscribed, they are going to be having the streams, the keynotes streamed, and you can register for free. Go to the page, StwrWest.techwell.com. I think I said it right. And register is free if you want to just watch the keynote, some vendor sponsor sessions. And that's the special part that I wanted to tell. Vince, what do we have them for today? Well, not today, in a few days. What is going to happen? What are we gonna-
breakfast.
I mean, we already had breakfast. Very good burrito.
We will be giving away a very special, very rare, I think, item
Mhm.
from our
Our
Tech World,
friends.
from our friends at TechWell. It will be a PS5.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
No, this is the rumor that I've been told. So I'm secretly sharing it with you on this stream that that just randomly came up. So yeah, we will have this giveaway during the stream.
And the rules are going to be easy. One thing is that you will be seeing you will have to be registered and watch these streams over the TechWell app or the TechWell platform. Again, it's for free. You can register, you can get in there and get your information and check all of the talks. But at the same time, Vince is coming today to help me a little bit with the camera stuff and not to have the monster tree that you saw last time that I was dragging all over the place with this cursed damned carpet. Um, and on them, if you watch the streams, we are going to be doing some special things in which you will be able to participate if you catch it. It's going to be questions, riddles, some trivia and stuff during those streams that we're going to be doing. And what should they do with that, Vince?
So they will be, we will have a QR code that pops up onto the screen.
Exactly.
You will visit the QR code and submit your answers. And as long as you have the right answers, you'll be in the running.
Exactly. But something very important is that you must be checking and paying attention to what is happening on the streams and checking that you are interacting with us. You can leave comments, you can leave so many entertaining things, but you will have a time window after the stream finishes. We will let you know what it is, and we're thinking could be a good, reasonable about an hour after it. You'll be able to fill up the form, send the responses, and after that, with all the responses that we receive, all the names and everything, it's going to be private. Again, you're already registered in the platform. We don't care about it. We are not planning to do any weird stuff there. It's just for you to enter into the trivia contest. How should we call this? Like raffle? It's not a raffle. Well, could be TBD. We're still working on
It's a
how, because
giveaway. Whatever it is, it's a giveaway.
we being optimistical, we may have more than one person that will complete the whole set of trials, and then yeah, we will have to raffle in between the people that won. After that, we are going to do a little yeah, what would it could it be, like a fishbowl that we can grab the names from?
We could do that for sure.
Still thinking what could be cool. Recommendations are welcome on what we could do. We could do like bring Mickey Mouse to bring out the. um, I don't know. We're still gonna think how can we make it entertaining, fun for you, and as well that you get engaged in all the talks, all the interviews, all the people that hopefully we will have on Vince's seat today and tomorrow and during all this week. And let's see. Let's see how it goes. Let's have some fun and enjoy this set of sessions. But before we kind of move on, I want to give my amigo Vince an opportunity because probably some of you do not know him. Vince, what's the deal with you? What is your superpower? What's up with you? Share with the people so that they get to know you.
Sure. My my history revolves around incident and problem management. So anything in terms of firefighting or websites breaking, it's more than likely something that I've had to deal with over my career. So yeah, so that's been a lot of my fun, I guess you could call it, ranging anywhere from pre-incident to post-incident stuff through post-mortems and chaos engineering and um, reliability testing and pretty much anything in terms of making sure that your software, your websites, your services are all doing what they're supposed to be doing, regardless of anything else that's been going on, right? So yeah, that's been my world, and happy to hang out here with Leandro and the folks here at StwrWest, and to yeah keep it going.
That hopefully you are about to see if we can catch some. If you are someone that would like to be coming and sitting here and do a confession just like Vince just did, you're very welcome. If you know someone that should come and ping us, we're here right in front of the keynote area and the main ballroom, I think is the name, where if everything goes well, in any moment you'll start seeing people coming out for lunch or ending up the sessions. And as you can see here with Vince's knowledge, know-how, does it it feels to me like a very good intersection in between SRE, chaos performance, all that used to be like what you are good at and checking, right? Lots of forensic. What's the crime scene look like? What happened here?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of digging in, a lot of trying not to blame people for something that's broken, right? But
Trying.
also, but also being very observant and being aware of what caused what and how, not necessarily like how it became, but more when it happens again, assuming it happens again, how can we make it so it doesn't happen as badly, right? Because things are going to break. We're not all perfect software test engineers or anything like that, right? So yeah, it's just more of it's going to break. What are we going to do about it when that happens, right? So being prepared for the moments that matter before they actually matter.
It's really cool because it's not that you say that it won't happen or stop. It's expected, right?
For sure.
Uh, the key here is to be ready and be like mitigating, because
Mhm.
you won't be stopping. And here, there's a term like quotas, right, that you can have in terms of errors, or do you know the
Yeah,
official term?
there's an error budgeting
Error budgeting.
there's
Yeah.
an error budgeting term or practice that teams do sometimes go through to say that, yeah, we're allowed to mess up so many minutes out of the day, right? Or we're allowed to have so many incidents out of a year, and not be penalized for it, from either a professional perspective or even a business perspective. Some businesses say that they're going to be available for, X amount of percentage of the year, right? Ranging from 99% of the year, lower, more than that, right? Just depending on how confident they are in themselves and their team.
And I wouldn't say like a threshold for penalizing, right? It's just you really don't want it to be above this amount of problems or issues,
Sometimes it
right?
is a penalty. Sometimes they
Oh well, yeah.
companies will declare that they have a certain availability, and if they don't meet that availability, then they have to pay some sort of restitution for that. Right?
Governmental or
Government, even
contracted or
AWS, for instance, they have a contract with their customers that says that they'll be available X amount of time, and then if they're not, then they get a credit on their bill, right? So, um, yeah, different companies have different thresholds that they try to keep up for themselves,
different
both internally, yeah,
mixes.
both internally and externally, right? They'll have their own internal goals and service level objectives and service level agreements that they'll want to keep to themselves and keep for themselves, or again, have some agreement with their customers on it.
It's interesting because that one goes a little bit into uh, like these thresholds, as you said very well, are relevant to each company, to each organization, each situation. There are some of them that, yeah, you can have an error here and there, and
Sure.
not much will happen. Um, let's say in doing an order, or like submitting for an Uber Eats request or something like that. But if it's the brakes on your Tesla or some of those things, it's a different threshold, that where you need
Yeah,
to minimize that error budget,
sure.
and some others where you are kind of okay, you can
Yeah.
be flexible,
Yeah,
right?
there's different priority levels depending on what your service is, for sure. If it's something that's like health and safety related,
Mm,
you're not going to want very many errors in situations like that, or more than likely, you're not going to want very many errors, right?
that many is sadly still
But
there's
there will be some. Yeah, there is.
there will happen. It's an inevitable, Mr. Anderson. But it's different on what situation, because that one I wanted to kind of highlight it, where we generally in performance get that request like, hey, what is the threshold for everything? Everything? No, it's circumstantial. Some situations is acceptable to have a few here and there. Some others is like, oh no, no, please, nada. And well, what mechanisms do you have, or do you recommend, or do you use for all this? What is your tool set, your processes? Give us a little.
Sure. I mean, well, it depends on the company and the service and what they're trying to provide, right? Some of them are more load based, where if you have if you're expecting a certain amount of traffic, then you want to be prepared to handle that traffic. And then if you can't, or if you reach that expected threshold of traffic, then what happens, right? Do you slow down? Do you throttle? Do you
Completely
retry? Do
die.
you die? Do you turn off? Right? Some services just panic and shut off, right? And in a what's the word?
For
No.
reliability,
Yeah. Oh, geez.
when the system dies, or what do you mean?
Fuse box,
Oh, fuse box,
right?
like
What
a
is it? Oh, geez.
feature toggle or something like that.
It's a. Oh man.
Like you can turn off what is failing and turn on the what
Kind of, yeah.
was
It's
not.
it's a circuit breaker. Circuit breaker.
Oh,
Ah,
okay,
geez.
okay.
Why is that in my?
It happens especially when you're in front of
Yes.
the camera. That
Now I'm gonna be nervous. Stop. No, so yeah, circuit breaker scenarios, right? Where if something shuts off, then does it turn back on automatically? Are there certain scenarios where it should turn back on? And then not only what happens, trying to understand what happens when it breaks, but when things come back, right? If you lose a whole region or a whole zone, something's going to happen, but then something else is going to happen. There's going to be a rebalancing or whatnot when some of that turns back on, right? How long does that take? How, what services is that going to affect? Are there going to be, is there going to be some sort of replication issue from one side to the other? There's a whole bunch of different things depending on your services and depending on how you do things. So a lot of it is testing. A lot of it is validating, again, before a problem really happens, right? So that's where steps like proactive steps such as chaos engineering, such as load testing, such as performance testing, all of these things that you can do before production, but even also in production, to make sure that when things happen, we at least have a better idea, right? Or we're more prepared for everything that could come up as a result of that.
What would you recommend to do or have in place for when you are already in production and to detect?
In chaos engineering and in most other practices, there's a concept of blast radius, right? And so a lot of teams will they're like, well, we're not going to test and we're not going to do any of this in production. Like, that's where the money is. Well, of course, that's where the money is. Like, that's production, right? And so, but we want to make sure that you're doing things safely and doing things properly. So when you come out to do things in production, start small, right? We're not going to start to pull out the rug from underneath a whole availability zone, right? We're going to start with maybe a service, even maybe a node of that service, or or just some of the connections between those two services, right? And start to play with the latencies and start to play with the connectivity between things like that, right? And so it depends, again, how I've worked with teams that are like, they believe their system is fully fault tolerant, but then we start to add 30 milliseconds of latency and things just shut off, right? So there's scenarios like that where we can break an engineer's confidence pretty quickly in their systems, and then there's other times when the services and everything happen exactly as they're supposed to, but then when it comes down to the operational stuff, like maybe a run book, the run book doesn't make sense, right? Or it's outdated, or I've been in scenarios where we'd hit a run book and the run we trigger the fault, the alerts trigger, the run book comes up, and the next step says wait 15 minutes to see if the alert goes away, right? Like,
in those 15 minutes, what can happen?
Yeah, like if you got this page at 3 a.m, or this this alert at 3 a.m, like, do you really want to wake up just to wait 15 minutes and then go back to sleep? Like, there's some things that as they come up, you start to realize, oh, this could be done better, right? Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at, where we realize that it's not going to be perfect, right? There's always going to be something that can be improved, but step by step, little by little, right? We want to make things a little bit better for on-call life, for in terms of resiliency, and making sure that that you as a developer, as an engineer, can be doing the stuff that you want to do rather than fighting fires and dealing with those stresses,
or even be prepared for those fires, or know how to fight them.
Yeah, absolutely. There's scenarios where we call them game days, where we practice just the act of diving into an incident, right? Getting the page, logging in, fumbling with your VPN token, trying to figure out which node that you need to log into, finding the logs. Maybe you don't have some sort of log parsing tool, but if you do, or if you don't, then you're trying to remember where your logs are stored for this particular service, and then running through your greps and awks like you were a professional at them, right? Yeah, there's all kinds of things, but going through those, building that muscle memory of fighting that fire, for sure. There's events to make that better.
And it's interesting when you said like muscle memory, because it's not something that just the same person, you will start to create like a backlog of what happens, a body of knowledge, or I don't know, reaction catalog of things that we can do, right?
Yeah, things that you can do, things that things that should be checked, and then eventually things that are going to be automated, right? And the steps like that. if this alert triggers, bring up these logs and send them to somebody, right? Or so that they can be analyzed either through some of the new AI stuff that's coming out for AI ops, or just a human that actually knows how to make sense of some of these things, and hopefully again make sure that your incident doesn't last as long as it needs to.
It's interesting because, and as you mentioned, in the QA world, we are very used to automations. And what you mentioned is like to some of these situations, you have automated reactions that trigger fixes or trigger, how to call it, responsive or corrective
Yeah.
actions, or and all these. How do you integrate these reactions, or give us some examples of the things that
Yeah,
you have seen
there's
that automated?
one of my past places. Like, we only had a certain set of things that we knew would, at least we want to make sure that those steps are done before we try to dive into something more, right?
Hopefully.
Even something is like when you call tech support for anything, right? One of the things that they tell you to do is, did you turn it off and on again, right?
Reboot your
So
system.
yeah, so maybe you need to kick a server, maybe you need to restart one of the services. That's one of the automated steps that can happen before a page that comes out.
Wait. Truly automated? Like you have like a batch script or something that
Sure,
goes
whatever,
and resets the
however, yeah,
server? Oh,
however
cool.
it needs to do it. Like, it's more than likely automatable, right? You just need to make sure you have permissions to be able to do that, or whatever script
Uh,
or whatever has permissions to do that. But yeah, there's part of the automated ops steps that for sure can happen to reduce the toil. I think that can make an SRE or anybody who answers a page at 3 a.m. Sad, right? So we don't want them to be sad.
Sad, stressed, or awake during
Yeah,
nighttime.
there's a lot of research and I guess articles now being published about how DevOps and SRE and that world is becoming more stressed out, right? And this is our systems are becoming a lot more complex, a lot more difficult to manage and maintain, and as our systems and our services become more complex, so does the responsibility for having to support it, and um, yeah, the more likelihood that something breaks and someone gets sad for it.
Ironically, because I remember in the past it was like having the beeper, and it's still like a saying
Mhm.
that to try to beep the least possible at the people.
Mhm.
Because, and even me myself, I had that bad practice once where I configured an APM where there was a process that I was super mad that was getting slow or was consuming too much in terms of resources. And I configured like an alert for every time that happened to go and pester the product owner. I wanted it to go as high as possible. And the very first reaction, it's funny because my intent was to get reaction, hey, get this fixed. We all know that it's a known issue. And the very first request was, can you take me off this distribution list? Like, dude, you're the one that I want to get reached. But that was the problem. I was doing it a little bit too much. This poor person was getting alerted every other minute about the software that he owned, product owner. And but it's a balance, right? It's important to
Yeah,
have this type of um, emergencies, because it's not an emergency. That's another key, right? You have
yeah,
to.
yeah. You being able to prioritize the things that come at you and the things that you want to be woken up for, versus something that can just be a ticket and you address it in the morning, right? Um, we had I had a place that they their engineering team had this charter to have zero errors, right? Zero
Oh,
failures, and they were given a time frame, and at the end of the time frame, they couldn't do it, and so the extension happened, of course, and instead of trying to address all of the failures, they just swallowed all of the failures and all of the errors, and so on paper it looked great. They had zero errors, right? But at the same time, that's not really fixing the issue. It's kind of,
truly, the failures were kind of under the rock, right?
yeah,
Kind of
absolutely. They
trying.
just if you don't see it, then they're not happening, right? So, yeah. different ways, different teams to handle them more effectively than others. But yeah, there's uh,
But on that one, what is the problem with this zero error policy? What,
it's
how easy it is to implement? How
uh,
cheap
it's
or
it's well, it's super expensive for engineers to want to, for an engineering team to have to fix all of that, right? Especially if they haven't done it in a while. There's a lot of technical debt that might be sitting around. It's going to be one of those things that, and you kind of have to assume that it's never going to be perfect too, right? Like it's a North Star that you're probably never going to reach, um, unless you're absolutely perfect. And very few people out there are perfect developers and or engineers. So
here is as well a little bit the situation where do you apply in these chaos SRE areas the sigmas where
you try, right? You try as best as you can, and because again, because it's so complex, like, and because the systems are generally so complex, and there's a lot of moving parts that you really sometimes you don't have control over, right? If your services are out in some cloud somewhere, right, there's a lot of black box areas that you really don't have control over, right? And so you try your best to be able to handle the things that you can handle, right? And if you can't, uh, if there are other things that are outside of your control, like, those are going to happen regardless of how much how much preparation you do. It's still going to happen, right? It's more of, what do my services do as a service owner when Jimmy's service falls over, right, and I'm dependent on that service,
hmm,
right? So I can only control what I can control, and so that's what I want to make sure happens. That if so, I'll mess with some of the connectivity between my services and Jimmy's service, and if my service can handle Jimmy's service not being there, I think I'm in better shape than I was before.
or at the very least have one of those whoever hasn't seen those fun puppies when you're trying to do shopping and something is down or is overloaded. Amazon generally has those mechanisms that if a service is overwhelmed or hard to, puppies. I kind of like that strategy, but it's one of those strategies where your system is not down. Like the user can still manage and work around it. And going back a little bit, for the ones that do not know, the sigmas are some measurements of quality. The amount, if I'm right, probably I'm saying it wrong. Let me know if I'm saying something incorrect here. But the amount of sigmas that you will have in your system solution and whatever, you can have sigmas everywhere. They're using power plants or production lines, is the number of nines that you will have in terms of percentage of errors or no errors. If you want 99% is a given amount of sigmas, can't remember very well. And if you increase, is increasing those nines. And what I was asking you, like when you want to increase those nines, that 100% of the time is up or no problems. That I don't know how many sigmas is that. Must be an infinite or something like that because it gets higher, right?
If you are at 100% of availability and
On
0%
everything.
of errors, you are in the elite group, and we should be talking to you. Everybody should be learning from you on how to do things
And buy a lottery ticket and
and
all those type of things. Because
yeah,
I mean, what we're trying to say is kind of impossible. It's really, and every nine that you want to add, it's a very small amount of time,
Mhm.
and each increment is smaller,
Yeah.
but more expensive, more expensive, more expensive. It's way more complicated, as Vince was saying. You will need more engineers, more support, more beepers, more infrastructure, hardware. It's almost gonna be madness, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's a balancing act. We mentioned before the balancing the amount of dollars it would cost to make things perfect versus the amount of dollars it would cost to fight a fire, right? And so if we can lower the fire cost without raising the perfection dollar amount too high, uh, everybody would be in a better place for sure.
It's a balance, and it's similar on QA. in QA, at times we tend to hear, "Hey, didn't QA did the work, and why did we see this error in production?" Well, you didn't see 20, 50. It was just one, and it will always happen. And the same with chaos, with SRE, with QA, everything. You need to take into account this error budget. Was it?
Your budgeting. Yep.
Hey, I'm remembering it. um, where it'll happen. It's impossible that you can think of 100% every weird variation. I mean, who here hasn't had like that user that went and did something totally random and weird that crashed the system, but you were like, how in the world was I supposed to think of a user doing that or trying that? And of course, that's the very first thing that they do, or they
Yep.
try to click on or not to click on, or I don't know. But as you can see, I mean, rounding it up and getting near closing this transmission, as you can see, chaos, SRE, keeping your systems alive, it's a big endeavor, but at the same time, you have to be balanced. I don't know, Vince. It feels to me when you are designing or creating something, you always want to touch it up and add a little bit, and it always gets to a point where you should say like, okay, my deadline is tomorrow. I need to stop here. When is it reasonable, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's dependent. It's all based on the team and the individual of how much they feel like they can get done, and then how proud of the work that you want to be when it's all said and done. Right? Like I can release a service a day, but it probably won't be very reliable. Right? And if I'm not going to be the one that's answering the calls of when that service is broken, I'm making someone else a little bit sad, right? And so either better documentation, better processes, better service implementation, right? Um, Not just better testing, right? There's a whole lot of other things that can be improved.
That's a very interesting one that you mentioned. That I will just give this thought food. Is that the way that you say? Um, you made me think a lot on the sprints and the prioritization on new features, new releasing, on our continuous projects, and trying to push as much that we don't slow down. Respect that we need some days for QA, that we need some days for tuning, for rolling back stuff, and we just push, 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 push. Yeah, we will check that on the hardening sprint. We will just one day look back at it, and it's the same. We need to get to that middle point. Like, okay, feature push, good. We need to. That's the point of the project, but keep it balanced so what you push into production has that amount of quality, that amount of reliability, chaos resistance, or that you have plans for that. Because if you're just release, 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 oh, this broke, the database is deleted. Did we ever sat to do a plan for that? Uh-oh. And that's where it gets interesting,
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Sure.
Okay, well, to not to extend too much and to keep these presentations and streams rolling, Vince, where can people find you to get more of your knowledge and your expertise?
Easiest is on my LinkedIn, which is linkedin.com/in/VinceW. Um, I am also, you can also reach out to me on Twitter, which is not_that_Vince.
Cool. And that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. So if, and cool, you have a very short LinkedIn
Yeah.
header or URL. That's really cool. So everyone, if you want to get in touch with Vince, get more understanding, more knowledge, and more stability on your environments and on your solutions, take a look at his profile, send him questions, comments, and don't worry, you won't miss him. He will be around for the rest of the week. We will be here together, bringing you all the magic. I now really wish that you could hear all the background music that we are getting, magical background music.
Still not
But
going to dance.
Oh, no, 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 no. No valse, no dancing, no karaoke. I promise I have done that before. Never again. Poor people. It's, yeah, we shouldn't do that to them. Um, but yeah, we will be around. We will be streaming. Be prepared because certainly when we grab someone that is ready to speak and to share the knowledge and share all the excitement, it will certainly start. So stay tuned, stay prepared, and again, register. Go to StwrWest.techwell.com. Register for the free sessions. If you want to look all of them, register. There are the paid packages. And there will be streams where we will be doing these dynamics, these games in which you can get a PS5. So stay tuned, stay ready, and stay performing. And now I'm gonna stop the stream and I put everything so far so that you are gonna see all the action. So beware, be ready, and Beans, thank you very much.
Thank you.